Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be ranking my least favourite to most favourite Stephen King books that I have read so far. So as always, grab your beverage of choice and let's get into it. I'm being super boring today. I've just got a glass of water because I have had my coffee for the day and I have not drank enough water today, so here we are. A girl's got to stay hydrated, you know? So I originally started filming this video and I was going to do like most favourite to least favourite, and I thought that's a bit anticlimactic and we're kind of ending on a bit of a bum note. So we're going to go least favourite to most favourite in reverse order. So here we go. My least favourite book that I've read from Stephen King so far, I don't really like saying least favourite because I feel like that's like harsh, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just the least favourite out of the ones I've read. I don't know why I'm trying to protect Stephen King's feelings because he's clearly doing fine. He probably won't care. So yeah, my least favourite Stephen King book that I've read so far has been The Institute. So this is about a group of young children who have special telekinetic gifts, and they're basically kidnapped and sent away to this institute for study and development, and yeah, it ends up being a little bit of a prison as opposed to a place of like learning and scientific research. So this was actually the second book I read from Stephen King. I know it's one of his more recent ones. I just felt like it was too long, and the end portion of this book kind of bored me. Like I just was like, oh, okay, let's just see what happens. Like, can I get to the end? Um, but up until that point, I was really enjoying it. I really, really liked the premise, and I believe there is. I'm not sure if it's a film or a series, like a TV series adaptation, but I think we are getting an adaptation of this coming soon, and I honestly do think that'll be really good. I think it'll actually be a really interesting watch. So yeah, it's not that I hated it or that it was a terrible book. I just thought it dragged on a bit long, kind of lost interest in it. But I am looking forward to the film slash TV adaptation when it comes out. So there we go. My second least favourite is The Mist. Now, this is a little novella and this is very much a creature feature. You might have seen that there's been, like, I think two film adaptations, or maybe a film adaptation and a TV series as well. I hadn't seen either. I've still to watch any adaptations of this. Typically, creature features are not really my thing because I think they can be a little bit cheesy if they're not done well. I did enjoy this book. I just felt like, I don't know, it just didn't hit the mark for me. I kind of wanted more to happen. I don't really know what I wanted from it. Like, it was, again, interesting concept. So basically it's this man and his son, they end up trapped in this supermarket when this mysterious mist descends, and these creatures seemingly from other worlds start coming out of it and basically tearing the place apart. So horrifying and interesting concept, and the creatures, the way they're described, are absolutely horrific. And I love that it was set in a supermarket. It really focused on like the mass hysteria because all the people in the supermarket obviously started like fighting amongst themselves and breaking into factions, and I find things like that really interesting from like a sociological point of view. But I don't know. I just wanted something more from it, and I don't really know what that is, to be perfectly honest with you. I think maybe just the fact that it is a novella, it just felt like it was kind of cut off, and I was like, oh, no, I want to know like what happens, but you don't ever find out. So yeah, I would probably be really interested reading if there was a fuller version to come out of this, or perhaps the TV series like goes into more detail and you do find out what happens. I'm not sure, but yes. So this was another one of my not so favourites of Stephen King's books. So we're climbing up the ranks. The next book I'm going to talk about is Pet Sematary, and this is one that I've just finished reading a couple of days ago. Now listen, I'm really glad I read this book, and I know that people that love Stephen King absolutely love this book. One of my best friends is a huge Stephen King fan, and he says this is his favourite Stephen King book. I kind of wish that I had read it years and years ago, or I kind of wish I hadn't been so desensitized by horror films before I read this book, basically. So the main premise of this book is a man called Lewis Crete relocates his family to a small town in Maine because he's taken a job as a university doctor there. However, when they move into their new house, they discover that there is a pet cemetery up the path at the back of their house. However, it ends up being a little bit more sinister than just a resting place for dead animals. So yeah, the premise really interesting. The themes about death and grief and reincarnation really, really got my brain going. And Stephen King with this book, I feel like, was really trying to get us to ask the question of like, if we could extend life or if we could reincarnate people, animals, is that really the right choice? And is the point of life not kind of that we die? And that is what makes life so, yes, fleeting, but also something that has to be cherished. I feel like he was really just examining grief in this book and how we can shy away from death all we want, but it is inevitable. It's going to happen to us all, unfortunately. I just realised I'm not holding up the book. I have a stack of books here and I'm not holding them up. Here's Pet Sematary. So anyway, yes, I did find this book really thought-provoking. I would recommend reading it. However, would I say it was an enjoyable read? I don't think I could go that far because it was very bleak and very heavy to read. So I guess what I'm saying is tread lightly. I guess you could say that for all Stephen King books because you're probably going to find a trigger in any one that you read. But yeah, this one just was particularly bleak for me. So that's why it's kind of sitting in the middle of our ranking right now. Okay, I'm going to remember to hold it up. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Shining. I don't even know if I need to give a synopsis of this because I feel like everyone and their dog knows something about this book / film. But if you don't know, The Shining is about a man, I was going to say a man called Jack Nicholson. My goodness, shows how synonymous that actor is with that character. I think the character's name in this is Jack though. Oh, I'm really tripping out now, I'm not sure. Yeah, his name is Jack Torrance. So The Shining is about a man called Jack Torrance who, again, kind of similar to Pet Sematary. He basically, him and his family go and live in the Overlook Hotel over its off-peak season where it is not open to guests, and he basically takes up a job as the hotel caretaker after he got let go from his position at where he was teaching at a university, I believe. Wow, there's a lot of similarities between Pet Sematary and The Shining that I'm just realising right now in the setup. Anyway, so Jack Torrance and his family move into this Overlook Hotel in Colorado over the off-peak winter season. Jack's son Danny has what is called The Shining. Danny is able to perceive other people's thoughts, and the hotel seems to have a life of its own, which they quickly discover. I really enjoyed The Shining. I really, really enjoyed the book. I thought it was extremely well written. I thought all the characters had such depth, particularly Jack Torrance, and that is my real issue with the Shining movie because I felt like all the characters just lacked depth in that movie. But I have a full video on my thoughts on that movie. I'll link that below if you want to go watch that. I didn't like it, put it that way. It's not, okay, actually I'll rephrase that. It's not that I didn't like the movie, it's that I didn't think the movie was a good representation of the book, which I believe Stephen King agrees with me on, because I've read interviews with him where he basically isn't really happy with how The Shining turned out. And I get it. The Shining is in the middle, number three in our ranking system. Not quite at the top, but very, very close. Moving on, my second favourite book that I've read so far from Stephen King is Carrie. Again, I feel like everyone knows the story about Carrie, but if you don't know, Carrie is a young 16-year-old girl in high school and she's struggling. Our girl is struggling. She is severely bullied in school and she also doesn't have a very easy home life, but Carrie herself has, once again, we're seeing a theme here, telekinetic abilities. And after a particularly gruesome and horrific bullying incident, Carrie really unleashes those telekinetic abilities at her high school prom. Yeah, I love this book. I have a full video on this. Again, I'll link that below as well. This is Stephen King's debut novel, and to say I'm blown away by that is an understatement. If I had written this, if this was my first novel, I'd literally be like, okay guys, I'm done. Clocking out. Bye. I'd be like, I've peaked. Like, no way I can get this. I love this book. I absolutely flew through it. I read it in 2 days. I would have probably read it even faster than that had I not had to go to work and just live. I just love this book. I thought it was really well handled. The themes of like bullying. I just thought King did a really good job of writing from the perspective of a teenage girl. I don't know how he achieved that, but it was like really relatable, and I had to keep reminding myself like a man wrote this. A man. Okay. It wasn't scary, like Carrie isn't scary in terms like supernatural scary, but it was still pretty horrific to read. Still a great read for like spooky season, and yeah, I really can't say anymore. I really, really, really love this book, and I love my edition of it. So this is the 50th anniversary edition, and she's stunning. Okay, moving on to the top spot, my favourite Stephen King book that I have read so far. Drumroll please. It is The Green Mile. This book is fantastic. I read this... Oh, wait, how long ago did I read this? I want to say maybe like 8 years ago, something like that. And it has stuck with me. When I tell you, I can see scenes from this book in my head. I can hear lines from it in my head to this day. This is a masterpiece in my opinion. The film's good as well. In fact, the film is probably one of the best book to film adaptations I've ever seen, to be quite honest. The film is excellent. This book is just so poignant. It's got this real atmosphere to it. It's just really like peak storytelling. If you don't know, this is set on death row. Follow this prison warden who is depicted by Tom Hanks in the film. And he meets this inmate called John Coffey, like the drink but with a Y. And John Coffey has these, again, abilities. He can basically heal people. It seems he can rid people of like their ailments. He's a really interesting character. Everyone in this book is a fascinating character. It is so horrific, and there is one scene in this, and I feel like if you've read it or if you've seen the film, you'll know the scene I'm talking about. Haunting. Like, when I read it, I was just like, my jaw was on the floor. I don't want to spoil it just in case you haven't read it or seen the film, so I won't say what it is, but wow. And if you know what I'm talking about, please comment below, because I honestly think I might need therapy just from that one scene. Do yourself a favour and read this book. That's actually all I can say about it. Do yourself a favour and read this book. Probably due for a reread of this soon actually, which I'm excited for. So, yeah. There we have it. That was my ranking of the Stephen King books that I've read so far. So I've only read 6 books, and that was me ranking them in order of like least favourite to most favourite. I am so excited to read more. In case you haven't already guessed, I love Stephen King's writing, and I'm very, very excited to dive further into his back catalogue. So yeah, let me know if you have read any of these books, what your thoughts are. Please comment below if you agree with my ranking, or if you don't agree and you would move some books further up or some books further down. Please let me know in the comments. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!